Let's tell you about a very interesting story right now. The opposition coalition has adopted a political party. We thought it was going to be the beautiful bride of the SDP, and some said there was ADA. But then again, there's a new one, and it's got to do with a new political party, but not new. It's been in existence. We're talking about the ADC. Now, this is a major step in their efforts to unseat the current ruling party, the APC. The coalition has also come out to make some announcements. Now, some of the interim leaders and members of the party have been mentioned. Former Senate President David Mark has been installed as national chairman. Well, the word installed, yeah, maybe, okay. While the immediate past Minister of Interior, Rauf Aragbeshola, will be the national secretary. Ex-Minister of Sports, Bolaji Abdullahi, was appointed as spokesperson of the party, so you have 3 positions that have been taken. The coalition was said to have reportedly tried to register a new party, which many said ADA, some have called it ADA after initial talks, but ADC and Social Democratic Party, SDP, had broken down. But it appears talks with ADC have turned around in their favor. We're supposed to have a guest join us from the ADC, but unfortunately, he seems to be on a round-robin trip, possibly because of what has just unfolded, like we've mentioned to you here, where they have a spokesperson, they have a chairman, they have a secretary, and these names are not new names, they are known names to Nigeria's political landscape. But without further ado, we're going to touch on this because it's a big and developing story. And like I mentioned, we're expected to have a guest from the political party join us, but unfortunately, he's currently on the road, so we'll get to connect with him, hopefully, if not today, maybe tomorrow, to speak with him on that.
Now let's move on to other matters. Lagos appears to be buzzing with political energy as the July 12 local government elections draw near. From Sulete, residents are gearing up to cast their vote in the forthcoming poll, and political parties are pulling out all stops. These elections may not have the glitz of national polls, but they're arguably as important as the general elections.
Of course, they are, especially as local governments are the closest to the people. They control primary health care, waste management, local roads, and even the markets. Lagos has 20 local government areas and 37 LCDAs. The ruling party, that's the APC, has dominated local politics for over 2 decades. But this year, opposition parties like PDP, Labour Party, and even some new grassroots movements are making noise about taking over these structures. Now, joining us to discuss these preparations ahead of the July 12 local government elections is Surulere local government PDP chairmanship candidate Babajide Benson. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
Morning, Mr. Benson. Thanks for joining us.
I mean, my question would be, we never saw this switch coming because Babajide has been a political and, of course, a public affairs analyst here on different news platforms. So have you been nurturing this, or you just feel like, and why did PDP
what drove you?
And why did PDP do?
So which one should I answer first?
First of all, I think,
Okay.
then why PDP?
Why PDP? Because I wanted to be in a political party. And I imagine that that's very heavy, because you want to be in a place where you can contest, you can argue, and people will see reason with your argument and give you an opportunity. You don't want to be in a place where somebody's word is here and amen. And now to answer your question, have I been nurturing it? Yes, I've been nurturing. I've been part of politics in my local government for about 2 decades. I've been very active in community activities. I consider myself a public-spirited person, and politics is the natural next step when you've done a number of things in the community. So, yes.
Okay, I want to go back to your response about why the PDP, because it's a political party where somebody's voice, somebody's word isn't here and amen. So what party would you infer that someone's voice is here and amen if you're joining them? Why didn't you join the APC? Why didn't you join the Labour Party? Why didn't you join the NNPP? There are other political parties that you could have joined.
Well, I have a different kind of thinking, and the way the APC is currently structured, at least in my local government, it's not something that will give me the opportunity that I think I have now. I don't think that if I was a member of the APC, I would be the candidate of the party. And there's clearly a need for a new kind of thinking at the local government level. I think I disagree with a bit of your opening statement where it said that local government elections are one of the most important. It's not. It's actually the most important. Because at every given point in our lives, we are in a local government. We all live in a local government. We all work in a local government. Every impact of government affects us in a local government part time. So we're here now in Ojodu LCDA. I don't know where you live. When you're going back home, you're going to commute through local governments. So when even at the grassroots level or on the road or wherever you may be, I mean, I think it's wrong for people to point accusing fingers at the president or the governors, whereas some of those issues are primarily the responsibilities of local governments.
And these are some of the things that happens all the time. It's very important, but on paper, we say the local government is important. Indeed. There's 774 of them across the length and breadth of the federation, and it's the closest to the people. Knowing how important this is, why is it that the psychology of the average Nigerian is wired to point fingers at Abuja, at the presidency, at the slightest inconvenience? And it seems local government chairmen as they've had a free reign and pass in, nobody holds them accountable for basically anything. How do we begin to change this mentality? And do you see you making a difference? And are we is the focus now that the presidency has said, look, they're going to get their allocation directly. Do you think the operations and the focus will change?
Okay, so first of all, what is the reason for the apathy? I imagine that's the question that you're asking. And is it because local government elections take place at different times in different states? If we had a uniform elections across the 774, or at least majority of them, the story will be different, because it means that every state, every community, their attention will be on it. Because when it's time for the general elections, everybody's talking about their states and everybody's talking about the president and the vice president. But now the discussion about local government elections is happening only in Lagos State. I think in the Federal Capital Territory, it will happen in a few weeks after. Ebonyi State is planned for next year. A few months ago, it held in another state. So it now becomes a state affair. And even where it happens in a state, the people don't have as much interest. You'll be surprised that the number of people already have plans scheduled for July 12, not knowing that on that day there will be restriction of movement. And so that tells you the extent of apathy. Now, in 1998, when we had the first round of elections of this democracy, the local government elections were the first. It happened in December 1998. And it was a national event, and people paid attention to it. But what then happened was that governors took hold of the local government because they saw the powers that the local governments had. And they started to whittle down the powers of the local government. And so you had local government chairmen who were elected who didn't spend the number of terms, the time that they were supposed to spend constitutionally. And now almost every state governor wants to control the local government, is controlling the local government. I mean, it's a good thing that the president has granted local autonomy to all the local government, but I don't think that that's on paper. In reality, many states are still breathing down the necks of local governments. Right after the president's, right after the local government autonomy was granted, I mean, Oyo State took a different path, Anambra State took a different path, and we're going to see a lot more of such. Am I going to make it different? Definitely, because...
With the current structure?
With the current structure, even with, yes, am I going to make it different? Even with the current structure, there's a lot that can be done. There's still a lot of room for improvement, in spite of the fact that you almost can't do anything without the governor of your state or some powers that be. With a new kind of thinking, with vision, with innovative thinking, one can achieve a great deal of success.
If you say that the local government autonomy that was granted by the court in July of 2024 is only on paper in most states, you're looking to occupy an office here in Lagos, and I'm sure that you've also done your due diligence to find out if that is also the position. So is that the position in Lagos State? And if yes, how do you hope to circumvent that? Well,
I just answered that question, which is that with what is even on ground, there's still a lot can be done. The quality of thinking at local government matters a lot. Once upon a time, you had people who from local government aspired to bigger offices, maybe governor. The material, the quality of leadership at the local government should be such that years after, those people can aspire to whether it's a governor or senate or what's. We have left the local government leadership for what's our third or worst 11. There was a certain kind of elite thinking that was at the local government back in the days when we were growing up. There was the town council, there was the health, the inspectorate service in education, in health, but all of those things have gone to the dustbin. So that is what I will be bringing to the table.
Okay, no. What I'm asking is completely different from what you're answering.
Okay.
What I'm asking is if that is the position where
Yes.
there isn't autonomy, because
Yes.
you're saying it's on paper.
Yes.
The question is you may bring excellent leadership.
Yes.
You may bring, you may be the finest quality and the finest crop.
Yes.
But you have to be able to work with the governor of the state.
Absolutely.
So how do you hope to work if you're saying that that is what the current situation is in Lagos State?
Like the resources that come to the local government, the internally generated revenue at the local government, still able, like that's why I've answered the question quite frankly. Maybe I just made a detour. With what still comes to the local government and the revenue generated by the local government, a lot more can be done. There's a lot of room for improvement. You don't find that in many local governments at this time.
Okay, I would like to tweak it slightly because you're looking at a structure and you're looking at a mentality and a culture of, this money is ours, we just show up to work, or we don't even show up. At the end of the day, we share all the proceeds. Nobody's going to hold us accountable. And this is what they've been used to years after years. You're one person. You're going to have to work with councillors and the local government staff. How do you now begin to change that mentality? Because they would see you as, you're taking food away from their plate. Because, it's one thing to say it, is another thing to do, to face the reality of, and the level of impunity you will be dealing with, the culture of impunity.
Okay, first of all, it's not just me. There's a running mate and there's a team of councillors, and there's also the party. Don't forget that the PDP hasn't achieved much successes in Lagos State. And therefore, when we get into office, one of the things that we intend to do is to tell a different story. So we're going to get the buy-in of those people that you have talked about. Like, look, you've come this far with the existing structure. How about we together navigate a different path? And so they will be part of the journey. So it's not me going to, as it were, rock their boat. They're going to be partners in progress.
Okay. All right. For me, I'd like us to look at a different aspect with the conversation concerning the elections. Prior to the elections, we did see fights, especially from other political parties, where they said they had spent a lot of money to buy the forms and so on. And then there's this thing within Lagos, because we're focused on Lagos State now, where it's much more like a given that if you're not a member of the APC, you dare not smell that political seat or position. So how did you emerge in terms of ensuring that you would represent the PDP? Was it the same stance for the PDP where people purchase forms for 5 million naira we hear? And looking at the elections in itself, sometimes it could be violent. How are you certain that this year wouldn't be violent?
Okay, so thank you. The forms in PDP were not as expensive as that of the party that you mentioned. And which is
why are you running away from mentioning the party? I don't
well, you know what I'm talking about, and you talked about the violence that was part of that process of producing candidates, and for us it presents an opportunity because many of the candidates that they're parading today either didn't run in the primaries or were imposed. There are situations in certain local governments where the person on the posters today, the person who is the candidate of the party, did not even obtain a form. And maybe because they couldn't reach a truce amongst those who were interested, they decided to dispense with all of them and then choose somebody altogether. And so that's something that we are going to take advantage of. So to answer your question, I am also a Surulere boy. I consider it my home and my place of pride. I've been watered and nurtured by the streets of Surulere. So I know our pain points, and that is why I'm in this race. At the beginning, I also said that I wanted to be in a place where I could ask questions to people who are considered leaders in the party, and I did that, and that's how I emerged. And I didn't start today, actually.
When you talk, okay.
Anyway, I just wanted to add. I was born and bred in Surulere as well. So
Woo! Up Surulere, man.
Straight keep urging you to do more.
Binga.
Okay, go on.
Relax.
The streets keep urging us to do more always.
It is true, though.
But my point is, you've talked about, there's also this challenge where local government chairmen don't live within the local government.
Yeah.
once they are they win the elections appointed, they move away from there, and so on and so forth. How is this going to be different, especially in the case of a PDP, where you have the current ruling party, which is the APC, proliferating everywhere in terms of different local government areas, states, and so on, and then most of them don't even live there. So how do you think you just come in there, take them away, win, and then change the entire narrative, which seems to be something that's constant?
Well, I live in Surulere. I work in Surulere. I have no plans to leave Surulere anytime soon. The people that I am talking to are more than people who are politicians. And that's a mistake we make a lot of times during elections. The focus is always on the politicians, whether those who are holding offices or it's those who are party members. But the population of the people in every local government, I think is probably an 85 or 90% of apolitical people to people who are card-carrying members. And so those are people that we need to reach out to a lot more. A few years ago, at an event organized by, what's his name now? Mr. Muiz Banere, he had asked El Rufai, who was the speaker at the event, that how do you change such narrative? And his response was very simple: go to the people. So Muiz Banere asked the question, Nasir El Rufai answered that question, and Peter Obi put it into action. And that's why we saw the results of the presidential elections in Lagos State. But many times we limit our campaigns to people who we consider politically active people. But if you go to residents' associations, community development associations, youth groups, churches, mosques, small businesses, and what have you, these people are voters. Many of them have voters' card. But you find that many of them simply obtain their voters' card as a what do you call it, as a national ID issue, and just obtain it and keep it. But when you actually throw a challenge to them, and when they see somebody who they consider quite reasonable, they would perform their civic duty.
Did you share rice?
No, we don't have those kind of resources.
Yeah.
We don't have those kind of resources. No, we don't have that. No, I mean, you can find out. I mean, you're a journalist.
And how do you then intend to win a party that maybe has that level of influence?
Well, so the election is
weaponized.
Well, I mean, it's been said, the election is the people versus the party in power.
Okay.
What would you say are the most concerning issues, if you could pinpoint top 3 issues in Surulere local government area as we speak, that you tend to focus on if you emerge as chairman?
I think one will be fine, but I'd answer 3. The youth restiveness and the energy that is bursting, and we're not able to channel it to useful endeavors. So the talent pool for area boys, and if you like area girls, is open. And we need to nip that in the bud. So if you run a business today, a small business, a medium-sized business, and you want to hire people, not a lot of people, first of all, you are unlikely to get the quality of talents that you're looking for. And then maybe not a lot of them would want to do those kind of jobs, maybe 8 to 5 or 1 to. So a lot of young people are looking for quick money. And so they will tend to what you call updates or turn up.
Climb the ceiling.
And what you refer to as Omo Adubo and area boys and what have you. So, and Surulere is a place of energy and enterprise. You only need to go to the National Stadium in the morning, and there's talent all around you in entertainment, in gymnastics. So we're going to harness all of that. And, you know, we're going to sell a different story. Like, look, this is who you are, and this is what you can be in a matter of months or years. So that's primarily it. The second thing is security. I mean, the irreducible minimum for us will be that every police station should have broadband internet. I mean, in 2025, a policeman should not be at the station and have to spend his or her money to buy data. If you had interactions with people who had to engage with the police station, sometimes they want to do as little as getting them to come over to the place. They have to provide them transportation. They have to provide them recharge card.
Mobilization
so, yes,
funds.
I mean, a simple arrangement of internet for development with broadband internet service providers will be to install their modems and routers in. And there are only 4 police stations in Surulere, so it's a very low-hanging fruit. It's not something that we should be concerned about.
Okay, harnessing youth energy and ensuring that you guarantee security through providing internet in the police stations.
I mean, that's just that would be a basic contribution, because don't forget that policing is the exclusive preserve of the federal government, so we'll simply be complementing what the state government is doing. Okay.
I think the major concern that we've heard a lot of young people express when it comes to politicians would be the fact that a number of people go there with genuine intent, and on getting there, they become somebody else.
Absolutely.
But they come out and realize that, and then they start to make excuses for politicians. Why should young people trust you?
Because I connect with them, because I feel their pain points. One of the things I do for a living is teaching. I'm a lecturer, and the generation of the people that I talk to are part of the people that I teach in class. So I think I'm more connected with any other person who's going to be on the ballot. I mean, I speak their language. I'm showing a clearer path of what they are, what they can be from where they are now. So, I mean, that's enough reason for them to trust me.
And would you say that you have the 100% support of your party? Or I ask this is because we saw a few months ago when Jando, who was the gubernatorial candidate for the PDP at the last elections in Lagos State, said that he did not get the support. He initially got the support of his party, but later Bode George was actively campaigning for Peter Obi, and those were one of the reasons he left the party, and he said he's going to demolish the structure of the PDP in Lagos State. That demolished structure, do you think it will affect you? So it's a maybe double question, right? So do you have 100% support of the party? Would you say that the structure of the party has been demolished in a way by Jando Adediran? Will that affect you? Dr. Adediran. And will that affect you at the elections?
First of all, I mean, the party has presented candidates in all 57, 20 local governments and 37 LGAs. And there's been no bone of contention. There are no factions of candidates. So we are fully, we're 100% supported by the party structure. I mean, there's no contestation about that. Two insurance companies merged recently, and I think when they were going to address the press, it was their MDs or GMDs who spoke to the audience. And so when a party is going to collapse into another structure, they don't call a branch manager to talk about what the party is doing. I mean, we talked about the ADC just now before, and you can see the caliber of people who are representing the different blocks that are coming into the APC.
Not the branch manager.
You don't talk about an inanimate object, for want of a better word. Thank you.
Okay. Now, we've seen this pattern when it comes to local government elections in recent past in different states in Nigeria. For example, the Labour Party in Abia State swept the polls. It's almost 100%. It's almost like an exercise in futility. But Lagos State prides itself as a center of excellence. It's very cosmopolitan. The people's thinking is different. Does this give you any hope, or are you concerned about the powers of the incumbents, the ruling party in the state, making a clean sweep of local governments, as we've seen this pattern play out in different states?
Oh yes, I mean, if I say that there are no concerns, I'll be telling a lie, because I mean, up till 2 days ago, the electoral umpire was still validating the documents of some of the candidates.
That's the Lagos State Independent Electoral Commission.
And one of the things that we have raised ab initio was that you don't leave that to the very last minute. So let's say, for instance, that you find a candidate whose papers are fake or incomplete or genuine, then you then start to disqualify a candidate 10 days election. What that does is that it unsettles whichever party it is, whichever local government or whichever ward that. So you don't. So we had raised this, but the argument or their response was that the electoral timetable was cast in stone and it was not going to be. So we are concerned about that. And to answer the question about the party at the state level sweeping the polls, yes, that has been the norm. But we're certain that if we put up a good fight, which is what we're putting up, if we run a good race, there is and can be a tipping point.
All right. Honorable Yusuf has a very strong hold in Sulere, whether I like it or not. And this is somebody you're going against, head to head. Prior to that, there were celebrations of the former local government chairman as well in Sulere, who the APC had given a vote of confidence that he's done absolutely well. the people in Surulere have been used to the APC, and many have said that the only way to outsmart or remove the APC from the seat of power in Lagos State is to start from the local government, which you've said is very, very important, and we agree with you. So what's the possibility of ensuring that you can go head-to-head with Honorable Sule and ensure that you're going to win?
So maybe this is the time to say thank you for inviting me, and maybe the same way you have invited me, maybe we should invite him and to hear his views.
Yeah,
so when you think that he's strong, I think that is the impression they're trying to give. I don't think that he's more popular than me. If he were not local government chairman, I don't think that he'll hold a candle to me on any issues. And I say that very confidently. And to the second part of your question is, like I have answered it before, the people that vote, they are a lot more than the people who are politicians, who are APC members, and who are APC supporters. And I've said again that this is an election of the people versus the party in power.
Are you confident in the process?
And the umpire?
I'm fairly confident.
100% confident?
I wouldn't say 100%, but I'm fairly confident.
So what do you put in? Anyway, maybe you might want to go through the route.
Because it's not a race that I am alone I'm running. There's the party establishment that has to do certain things. There's only so much that a candidate of the party can do, and I'm limited to doing whatever I can within my local government.
You're not giving bag of rice, you're not giving bread, you're not giving satin, you're not giving materials, you're not taking the women out on a dance troupe. You're not doing either.
No,
of
I'm not
that.
saying we're not going to do that. So taking
so that means there's going
to be rally. Yes, we're going to do street store. Wow. We're still doing. We're already doing those things.
Okay.
House to house, door to door. They are the different levels.
At least we're expecting plate of rice, so equally.
Well, I don't know about that, but the people will see us and they'll touch us, and we'll touch them and we'll engage with them.
But is there a worry, especially because in the past, not just with this election, the past election, one thing we've seen, and several other elections really, is the weaponization of poverty. And the quality of life, whilst the ruling party would argue that it's gotten better, I think the metrics of determining that it's gotten better is from what it was maybe last year. So right now the bleeding has stopped. But it doesn't mean that things have gotten really better. There are people who don't know where their next meal will come from. And every time we're seeing the outcry on social media. So in a country where we're still grappling with the effect of certain policies that were made, how, do you worry that poverty may be weaponized?
Poverty is already being weaponized.
At the polls against you?
What we're telling the people is whatever they bring to you, whatever they offer you, collect it, but do what you're supposed to do. We don't doubt that they're going to do those things. It's their stock in trade. So we're not saying when they bring rice, when they bring bonds, when they bring whatever brand of sausages, when they bring money, when they bring food, collect it. But just know that if you collect it and that determines your votes, you're going back to where you've been complaining about. And
but if they collect it, does that not mean that you're endorsing bribe?
Say again?
If you ask them to collect it, does that not mean that you're endorsing bribe? Because it's their commonwealth. It's our commonwealth. Anybody who invests in the political process like that, he would expect to get returns. So, and I've said again that even as bad as the situation is, I think we can still make, lemonade out of lemons? Yes, it is. Or pepper soup out of pepper.
Anyway, it's been a very interesting conversation. We look forward to have Honorable Sule join us. We'll try as much as possible to reach all the candidates.
As many as we can get within this short time.
Before the 12th.
Yeah.
Thank you. See if we can have conversations around the elections, because it's very important and sad at the same time that in as much as the local government elections are very important, enough attention, the most important, enough attention is not
you undermine it.
Towards it.
Many people don't know that there's an election happening next week Saturday.
What's going on?
Yeah, so that actually is part of their agenda, so that people will not be aware, so that the turnout is not massive, so that they can do what they've always done. Okay.
Anyway, so we are counting down the days to the next elections, the local government elections happening in Lagos State next week Saturday. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. We wish you all the best for your campaign.
Thank you very much.